39. In 1,000 feet, turn left, then turn right. Turn left on State Route 39, then turn right on State Route 124. Turn right on State Route 124. In 1.2 miles, turn left to US 6 East, Provincetown. Police reported ahead. In 1,000 feet, turn left to US 6 East, Provincetown.
Should have done the next day, but the problem is he's been doing it for a week at that point. Right? He was out there like saying that Reince Priebus was leaking on the president and was an enemy of the president for a week.
And he was saying that he was going to get him fired.
Right. And at the same time, remember, this is the same week that Trump himself is tweeting out that Attorney General Sessions, who was his most loyal supporter for a year and a half, that guy's like a traitor.
Right.
And that he wishes he would go away.
Because he recused himself.
Yeah. First of all, Trump can fire any of these people at any time. Like, this is very passive aggressive. For a guy who made his living saying you're fired on TV, it's a...
Turn left to US 6 East, Provincetown. Continue straight for 10 minutes to US 6 East, East Ham, Provincetown.
that all the people that Trump has fired have been fired actually through surrogates.
Yeah.
Right, Mike Flynn resigned. James Comey was fired basically through Rod Rosenstein and Sessions. And then Rosenstein had to recuse himself, which is how you get the special counsel.
And Comey found out on television.
On TV, right? He sends like an emissary to go to LA and give him a letter, and like everyone he fires has to be fired in the most roundabout. I think that Trump actually, I think the dirty little secret is I'm not sure Trump actually likes firing people. I think he kind of likes torturing people, but I'm not sure that he actually likes firing them.
Well, maybe he doesn't like people being mad at him face to face.
I think that's it.
He wants them to love him in front of his face, so like when he's not there, you know, you can make a phone call, fire him. You're fired, right. Jetson, and hang up the phone. And you don't have to actually see the guy. He wants that guy to like him. Yeah, I don't. The Comey thing was really bizarre because it was like, oh, you can do that? Like this guy is looking into improprieties, and you can just say, no, you can't do that anymore. You're fired. You can't look into the things I've done wrong.
Yeah, well, the way he did it was the stupid part. So I was calling for Comey to be fired since last year. I thought the way he handled the whole Hillary thing from beginning to end was terrible. Yeah. I thought that Trump should have replaced him before he became, you know, as basically day one. Here's my new cabinet. Comey did a great job, you know, usher him out the door, bring in somebody new. He kept him around, and then the first thing he said to Comey, you remember, was when he met him, he said, "You're more famous than I am." Well, when Trump says that to you, you know, that's the writing on the wall right there.
First of all, it's not true. But second of all, I think maybe there was also a part of the problem was that Comey's a giant.
Yes.
You know, Comey's, what is he, 6'8"?
6'8", 6'9", yeah, something like that.
Giant dude towered over Trump.
The whole thing is such a comedy. And Comey saying he was trying to hide in the curtains to avoid Trump. It's like you just see Herman Munster over there hiding in the curtains.
Yeah, it's weird. Now, what did
I'm enjoying the show. I mean, it's wild.
If I didn't think that nuclear war was a possibility, I'd probably enjoy it more. But if I see a fucking Korean missile headed our way, I'm going to be pissed. When Comey was handling the email thing, what specifically did you not like about it? What I thought was crazy was when he restarted or reopened the case because of Huma having used her computer with Anthony Weiner's, all that stuff. I was like, that's not enough. Like, that seems crazy. The deleting the emails, to me, seemed like, I had Mike Baker on from the CIA, and he said, essentially, anyone else would be in jail for what she did.
For sure.
For sure, right?
Well, Comey, so he screwed it up, and then he re-screwed it up. So when he originally said, publicly, we're not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton, he was doing something he didn't have the authority to do. The FBI does not decide whether to prosecute people. They refer the information to the DOJ, and then the DOJ decides whether to prosecute people. It was Attorney General Loretta Lynch's decision whether to prosecute or not. The statute itself, I'm a lawyer, the statute itself did not say, do you have intent to commit espionage? Do you have intent to make classified secrets public or expose them to the possibility of being made public. Intent is not an element of the crime, right? If you do it, it's a crime. So my wife, she's a doctor, and that means that she is under HIPAA requirements. There's no element under HIPAA that says that if she reveals somebody's, proprietary medical information by accident, well, there's no intent, so she's okay. That's not part of the statute. If she brings somebody's medical records out to her car and somebody steals the medical records, if she's working at the VA or something, that's a crime. It doesn't matter if she intended to do it and just left it in her purse. So Comey read the element of intent into the crime to get Hillary off, and then he said, okay, we're not going to prosecute this, we're going to leave it alone. He shouldn't have intervened in the first place. Remember, he made an entire case basically for why she should be prosecuted, and then at the end he goes, but no, we're not going to do that. He also said we're going to keep Congress updated on any future developments. Well, you get to October, and there's a future development. They found this laptop with all sorts of information on it, with new emails from Hillary Clinton that they haven't seen before, and now he has an obligation to inform Congress because he told them that he would. And so he screws the pooch again, because he's afraid that if he doesn't reveal that information, Hillary goes on to win, and then it comes out there's something criminal, then people are going to blame him for Hillary winning and putting a criminal in the White House. So instead he said, oh, well, I'll be fully transparent. I have to honor my institution. I'm going to put this out there. Of course, then Hillary loses, and now he screwed it up twice. And then he gets into the White House, and now he's supposed to be investigating the Trump-Russia stuff at the same time. So now he's investigating basically both candidates in the 2016 election. He handled this the wrong way every step of the way because he was so focused on what will uphold the integrity of the FBI and the integrity of the investigations and the integrity of the DOJ. He was less worried about, okay, what do I actually have to do under the law? What's my obligation under the law? His obligation under the law was to shut his pie hole, hand the information over to Lynch. If Lynch wanted to kill the investigation, let her do it.
So, in a sense, Trump was right in saying that he's a grandstander.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that part was right. But the problem, remember, was not the firing of Comey. It was that 2 days after he fired Comey, he went to Lester Holt on NBC, and he said, the reason I fired Comey was not all the excuses I gave about the Hillary stuff. It's because of the Russia stuff. I was angry about how he was handling Russia. I mean, that's really stupid.
Yeah, well,
that's intensely stupid.
It's intensely stupid, but it's also strange that it didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Like, that was it. Like, that's against the law.
Well, it's obstruction. So obstruction, looking at the statutes, obstruction is a little bit more than that. So you have to actually obstruct an ongoing investigation into criminal activity. There's a counterintelligence investigation going on, but not necessarily a criminal one.
Okay.
So not to get too specific about it, but...
Oh, well, that is specific, but you should get specific about it.
Yeah, I mean, the obstruction laws, I've looked into kind of the statutes that they've used to suggest obstruction, and it's not clear that there's any statute that specifically governs something like this. Plus, it is true that Trump does have the power, as the chief executive, to fire, as the commander-in-chief, to fire the FBI director for any reason he chooses. Now, all that said, he can be impeached for any reason, criminal or non-criminal, right? Impeachment is not you don't actually have to have committed a crime to be impeached.
Well, most people don't even understand what impeach means. They think that somehow or another impeach means you get kicked out of office.
Right.
That's not
right.
what it is.
There's the House, and they have to vote to impeach you. And then there's the Senate, and they have to vote by a two-thirds majority, or 60, I think it's two-thirds majority, to actually convict you of a set of crimes that they come up with. But these are all political definitions, right? When it says high crimes and misdemeanors, it doesn't mean they actually have to prosecute you like they would in a criminal court, and you'd have to go to jail or any of that kind of stuff. Like, they could impeach anybody at any time. Clinton didn't even have to commit perjury. If they wanted to, impeach him, they could. They could have impeached every president you can impeach. It's just a vote. It's just a vote. So all the talk about what's criminal and what's not criminal, the problem for Trump, there are two ways of reading Trump's behavior in the whole Russia thing, right? Way one is he's got something to hide. Now, that's the most obvious way. He's got something to hide. That's why he gets rid of Flynn. We don't know why he got rid of Flynn. He gets rid of Comey. We don't really know why he got rid of Comey, and then brags to the Russians that it's a pressure off him on the Russia stuff. And so way one is he's hiding something, and now he's firing everybody who gets in the way. And there's, the chain of evidence doesn't not fit that. I mean, the people he's angry at in order are Attorney General Sessions, the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the former head of the FBI James Comey, the acting head of the FBI McCabe, and the special prosecutor, right, Robert Mueller. So those are all people involved with Russia. Those are the only people he's really angry at. So there's something to be said for the idea that maybe he's trying to hide something. On the other hand, we haven't actually seen any hard evidence of collusion itself. So we saw an attempt to collude by Donald Trump Jr., but we haven't actually seen any evidence that the Russians were providing special information to the Trump administration, which was then being weaponized for use in the campaign. We haven't seen any of that stuff. So here's the other plausible theory, and this goes to Trump's personality. He's so petty, and he wants to be loved so much, that he is angry that people keep saying he won because of the Russians. And so now, every time people say that, he just gets pissed, and he fires people. So Comey, this is totally plausible, right? Comey comes to him and has said privately that you are not under investigation. And Trump says to him, well, why don't you just say that? And Comey says, well, I can't say that, because if I say that, I'm going to have to update Congress if you do fall under investigation. And Trump doesn't like that. He wants the public to know he's free and clear. So he fires Comey. And then he goes up public and he says, I didn't like how he was handling the Russia thing. I'm innocent. Why won't these people leave me alone? Right? So there's two ways to read this. Either he's totally innocent but stupid, or he's trying to hide something. Those are the only two plausible ways of reading the situation.
The Donald Trump Jr. thing was really bizarre because he released all the emails. Like, look, I've got nothing to hide. Like, you aren't supposed to do any of these things you're saying in these emails.
Yes, that was not a good moment for Trump Jr.
Do you think and then you hear that he was coached by his dad.
Again, none of this is good stuff. I think that Donald Trump Jr., releasing the email. First of all, it is imperative to note. 8 minutes later, the New York Times released basically the email chain, right? So he was beating it out of the gate, and so he puts that out there,
which is a smart move.
I mean, it would be smart.
Probably.
It would be smart if he had found a way to spin it.
Right.
Right. Like if he'd done it. If he'd done. This is the thing in politics now. The way politics works now is your smartest.
In 1.5 miles. At the roundabout, take the 4th exit on US 6 West, Hyannis, Boston.
If there's dirt about you, is to be the first person out the gate with it, and you put a spin on it, right? So, like Barack Obama, imagine if Obama hadn't said anything in 2008, and then we found out a week before the election that he did coke in high school. Now, a lot of people wouldn't care, a lot of people would, right? In 2000, George W. Bush was hit with a DUI charge in like 1973, and it probably lost him a point in the poll.
In 1 mile. At the roundabout, take the 4th exit.
So, what Obama did is he wrote an entire memoir, and he just kind of dismissed it, right? In the middle of the memoir, he goes, when I was in high school, did a little blow. No problem, did a little blow. And everybody went, oh, okay, did a little blow. All right, cool. So if you're going to release this kind of stuff, you have to put a spin on it. Trump Jr. didn't. He just put out the emails, and the emails themselves contain the damning material, right? It says right in there.
Right.
There's a Russian government lawyer. The Russian government sees this as part of its effort to aid Mr. Trump's campaign. And Donald Jr.'s like, thumbs up, guys.
Feels like I love it.
Sounds
awesome.
awesome.
I love it. Let's
right.
meet.
And so that does not look good. It's not quite as much as people on the left want to say it is, meaning that there's no evidence yet that any information was actually exchanged with the Russians or that anything came of the meeting. Most of the people in the meeting have said something and said nothing came of it. But we don't know whether Trump knew about the meeting. I find it kind of hard to believe he didn't, considering every major campaign figure was there. But then they just keep lying, and this is the part that's a problem. Are they lying because they just think they can get away with it and they're stupid, or are they lying because they're actually being meticulous about their lies? I tend to think the former because this isn't a professional administration. I think Trump, fibs a lot. He says things that are, on stupid things.
Yeah.
Right? He says things like, the leader of the Boy Scouts called me and told me that he loved my speeches.
Best speech ever.
And then the leader of the Boy Scouts like, what? So is that a calculated lie to hide something, or is it just that Trump lies by nature and so he does it a lot?
Well, I think he's just so used to putting that spin on things, that publicity spin.
Right.
And the thing that he said about this was that this is what happens in politics. You get dirt about your enemy, and people exchange information. It's just what happens. It's just you're seeing it now. So a lot of people are like, yeah, well, that makes sense.
Right. And this is something that, again, I think that we're shaped by Hollywood a little bit. Politics is dirty, but some of this stuff is not usual. Right? It's actually not particularly usual to meet with a government that is really not friendly to the United States to receive information about your political opponents. But if you've watched House of Cards, you think, well, it's like 2 steps down from throwing somebody under a subway. So
do you
what's
watch
the big
House
deal?
Cards?
I don't, because I work in politics, and when I go home at night, the last thing I want to do is watch entertainment about politics. I watch Game of Thrones. That's as political as it gets.
Yeah, House of Cards is a great show, but if it's half right, like I always wonder. The thing that gets me is when people suicide themselves that are on their way to trial. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be that fucking guy. I don't want to be that tinfoil hat guy. But how many people are going to suicide themselves? For sure, someone's been murdered. Somewhere along the line, someone knew something, some powerful people got to them, and they murder him. Like, it's gonna happen. It has happened. It must have happened.
I think it happens a lot in Russia. I don't think that
100%, right?
I don't believe what Trump said. And again, I think this is what Trump has a skewed vision of what politics is, and because he thinks that the outer limit of politics is Russia, he thinks anything inside that limit is now okay.
But do you think it's ever happened in the United States or just in Russia?
Like political assassinations?
Yes.
I can't name a specific example of where it has. I think that's...
Are you open to the possibility?
I'm open to. If someone shows me evidence.
At the roundabout, take the 4th exit on US 6 West, Hyannis, Boston.
Lyndon Johnson could whack somebody?
I don't think Lyndon Johnson whacked anybody.
What about Kennedy?
I don't think that Kennedy whacked anybody.
What about Hillary?
I don't think Hillary whacked anybody.
If I had my last $1,000, I'd be super tempted to bet on black. I'd be super tempted to go, you know what? I think she went dark. I think she's whacked a few people. Let's see what we got here. I want to see Whitewater. I want to see Vince Foster. I want to see that Enron guy who shot himself in the head twice. There's a few. If I could, man, I think it's happened. I just don't know who.
I'm sure it's happened
when.
at some point, but again, if I don't know who and when, I'm hesitant to. I think that we tend to think things are regular when they're never really irregular.
Yes,
right? So we tend to think that this stuff is happening like every day, and that's why you see Trump on TV saying, "Well, Putin, like America hasn't killed people." And it's like, well, no, not quite like Putin. Like Putin legitimately murders his journalists.
Continue straight for 11 minutes to exit 82, State Route 124, Harwich, Brewster, hold exit 10.
Yes.
Like, I haven't seen you trying to double tap Jake Tapper. So I'm pretty sure no, it's not a regular thing around here. Even Obama wasn't trying to kill Chris Wallace.
Right, but maybe I don't know. Well, Putin is obviously the extreme example, right? Well, obviously the extreme example is North Korea, but Putin is in that range.
Yeah.
like a totally feared, essentially a dictator who's.
I mean, there are a bunch of them, right? I mean, Erdogan in Turkey.
Sure.
Maduro.
Assad.
Assad.
Yeah.
Maduro now in Venezuela, who's literally jailing his
Venezuela
political
is
opponents.
now like a complete dictatorship, and this is very recently.
Right, but America is I mean, would you believe it if I said, like, leaders in France had people regularly whacked? I'd find it a little bit hard to believe. I don't think we're significantly worse than France in the whacking people in politics business.
I don't think regularly, but I think every now and then the move is.
I'm open to the possibility, but I'd have to see the evidence, the lawyer in me.
Well, I don't think we're a house of cards. I don't think it gets that ridiculous. But
the point I'm making is, if you think that's a regular thing, if you think that it's not like a rare thing, and maybe once in a while, once every 20 years somebody gets whacked quietly for political reason, if you think that's like a regular thing, then fibbing is like way inside the line.
Right.
Like you hiding documents is really, or you like writing your son's stupid statement about a stupid email exchange and then fibbing about it publicly, like that's really inside the line. So again, I don't think that, I think some of this, I have a rule about the Trump administration. I never attribute to malevolence what I can attribute to stupidity, because I think that that's more likely to be the case. It's like the Occam's razor of the Trump administration.
I think that is a smart way to think, but I think sometimes malevolence is real.
No,
like remember the Gary Condit Chandra Levy thing?
Yeah, that was weird.
That was a weird one. Where if for people who don't know the story, this guy was having an affair, the girl turned up dead, and then 9/11 happened right away afterwards, so people kind of forgot about it. But they found her body in the park, and everybody was like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is a woman that was about to testify that she was having an affair with this guy, and that one was a good one.
Yeah,
in terms, not a good one, obviously, a terrible one.
So so let me say this: I think that if there's murder in politics, it'll probably tend to fall more into the personal than the political.
Yeah.
It'll probably fall less in terms of like, I have a political vendetta against this guy and I'm going to kill him. We haven't really done much of that since Alexander Hamilton and Burr. But there are. I mean, listen, Teddy Kennedy left a woman in the back of his car in a body of water. So
right, drunk driving, right? That was the thing with him. He just didn't want to be responsible for something horrible that he did.
Right.
Similar to Dick Cheney not meeting with the police for like something like 18 hours after he shot his friend in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was trying to assassinate his friend.
No, he was just drunk hunting.
And that's.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
I would imagine.
I can't rule that one out. So.
Yeah, but it's
honestly, I'll find Teddy Kennedy a little more suspicious. You leave the woman in the back of the car, swim out of the car, go to a house, sleep, come back the next day, and my God, she's dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it turns out when you leave somebody underwater for 12 hours, they tend to do that.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works.
Well, unless he was so drunk that he didn't know what he was doing, which can happen. You can get blackout drunk,
So
where you wake up and you go, wait a minute, did I crash my car?
So I don't drink that heavily. Is that really a thing? Like, you climb out the window of the car, swim out to the river bank, go to somebody's house, come back like a day later, they're like, oh, shit, there was a girl in the back seat.
I've never had it happen, but I have I've had what I would call slideshow nights. Where I get hammered and then like I wake up in the morning with a pounding headache and I just have these flashes in my head, like, who was that person? Like, where was I? Where were we? Oh yeah, there was that. And then you eat breakfast with your friends, they go, you remember that thing? And you go, oh yeah, Jesus. So it's not necessarily blackout, like I did something horrible and I completely forgot about it, but I forgot a lot of it.
Okay.
But some people, I have a friend, and he goes gerbil eyes. There's a switch that goes off 3 or 4 shots in, and he's gone, and he's not there anymore. And you almost got to like nerf the world around him and protect him and get him in his bed. And he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't know a thing. Doesn't know a thing about what happened, and it's really bizarre. It's a legitimate
So you guys are nice to him, or you do terrible things to him while he's blacked out?
No, we're nice to him, but your instinct is to get the fuck away from him and just let horrible things happen. But the stories are legendary. But he gets shark eyes. He gets these black, like, soulless eyes where he's gone, and you go, oh no, he's gone. Yeah, it's weird.
Round 2 is in full swing, and DraftKings is putting you center court with free-to-play pools every day of the basketball playoffs, offering players a free shot at up to $10,000 in total prizes. DraftKings free-to-play pools are easy to enter. Just download the DraftKings app, go to Pools, and choose from a wide variety of free contests. All you have to do is answer a handful of questions around what you think is going to happen during that day's basketball games, and track your results throughout the evening. Questions will range from which team will hit the most threes to which team will score first. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ROGAN when you sign up to get your free shot at up to $10,000 in total prizes every day of the basketball playoffs. Head to DraftKings Pools page to get your shot at huge cash prizes. That's code ROGAN for a limited time only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for full details.
But I wonder what that is. I feel like that's a neurological issue. I feel like if alcohol does that to you, there's probably like some switches that aren't connected right in the head.
I imagine there's something going on,
Yeah. So Teddy Kennedy, who knows? I mean, he was obviously a raging alcoholic, and that could have been a part of the problem. I mean, he literally might have gone home not even knowing that he killed somebody.
I mean, that would have to be it's his only defense,
Yeah.
so you'd imagine.
Well, that was one of the things that they said that they would have used as a defense against with OJ. That OJ with the CTE, that he might not have even known what he was doing, that he might have flown into some blackout rage.
That would be an amazing defense. Like, I would like to hear that. Like, everyone who has CTE now gets to, like, run around chopping up their ex-wife and randos who end up at their house. Like, that's a hell of a defense, sort of like the Twinkie defense, right?
Yeah, well, the Twinkie defense was hilarious. But there are people that think that, you know, you're going to see more and more things like that out of former NFL players with massive brain trauma issues.
It's actually a serious legal question, you know? Like, there's
Is
always been
this
the question
new?
of...
It was a couple weeks ago. This kid doesn't even know he did this.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
Former NFL player Devon Hall accused of killing his mother. He doesn't remember.
Yeah, he's like in jail right now, doesn't recall.
Oh. Yeah, well, that's real.
Yeah, I don't find that wildly implausible.
No.
I mean, the fact is that we have an insanity defense. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
and what it means is you don't know right from wrong. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, like, this is something they teach in law school. If you're sleepwalking and you kill somebody, and there's no motive, so it's,
Right.
it's difficult to, like, you need mental treatment, but should you be in jail for that? Not really. I mean, they've had cases where people are, like, sleepwalking and they think that, and they're dreaming at the same time, so they think that their wife is actually, like, this defense has been used, where they think their wife is some sort of monster in the rooms, they, like, club her to death, and then they wake up and they're like, oh, that was my wife. It's a really creative defense, or it's true. I mean, one of the two, so.
Well, if we know that people can go crazy, and we know that brain trauma is a real issue, the two of them together, I mean, there's something about getting knocked around in the head where it's so completely unpredictable, and then you add in this impulsive nature of their behavior that happens. There's something really weird about brain trauma. It causes a lot of very strange, impulsive behavior in people. They really can't understand even why they're behaving the way they're behaving. It's just not good. Obviously, this is way off track, but it's my point
It's
is,
not that far from politics to brain trauma.
you don't want a former NFL player being the fucking president. They did the CTE study. It was 111 players, and 110 of them had CTE.
I mean, you tell me. I mean, you have more experience with this. I mean, I didn't find that shocking at all. I mean, they've been calling people punch drunk since 1910. So.
Well, see, the thing is, when you get to that, when you get to the slurring your words part, you're so gone. Like, you're already gone. There's a lot of people that have CTE that speak really well, and they're very articulate, and they're very reasonable, and you wouldn't even understand that they're dealing with all this host of neurological issues. By the time your voice, obviously I'm not a neurologist, but by the time, as it's been explained to me, your voice is slurring, and you're dealing with, like, real heavy-duty symptoms, like, you're fucked. Like, you're so gone. Like, you're way off the deep end.
So here's a weird question for you. I mean, what would you do about, like, I think the NFL's going to start losing viewers because of this.
I think they are. I think you're right.
And, you know, I wonder about MMA.
It's a factor. I think there's two things going on. There's the fuck it factor, where people I don't care, want to watch people get their ass kicked. It's fun. It's exciting. People love it. And
it's consensual.
It's primal. Yeah, and people know what they're signing up for when they do it. They know the consequences of it, and it's worth the glory to be the guy who delivers it versus the guy who receives it. So I think there's that. But then there's also, look, you know, like the Colin Kaepernick thing. I think that probably cost a lot of ratings for the NFL.
Sure. There was that poll that came out that said, I think of the 12% of people who said that they were not watching NFL games last year, 28% of that 12% said that the Kaepernick national anthem thing was the reason.
Yeah, I mean,
so
some people, it probably emboldened them. They probably liked it, and they wanted to watch it more.
This was fascinating about the cultural breakdown of the country. Basically, white people hated it and black people loved it. This is how the polls were. It's like 72% of black people thought it was great, and like an equal percentage of white people thought that it was just terrible. Which is a fascinating look at sort of how race relations work in the country at large. It's actually one of the reasons I think that ESPN's been losing ratings. Like, I used to watch ESPN religiously, and now all I want is to just watch my sports and not be bothered with the politics.
Right.
Because I say I do that during the day, and it's a pet peeve of mine. And every time I turn on ESPN, I have to lecture about Caitlyn Jenner or about Black Lives Matter. It's like, shut up. Caitlyn Jenner hasn't even been athletically relevant since before I was born. I was born in 1984.
Well, the Caitlyn Jenner piece, when they did it for ESPN, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the word was that her getting Athlete of the Year, or whatever the award was that she got.
It's like Hero of the Year. It's like the Hero of the Year award, yeah.
Hero. Was directly tied to the exclusive interview with Diane Sawyer.
That makes sense.
They sold the two of them together as a package deal, which I buy 100%. If you don't, come on, think about where she came from. She's a fucking Kardashian, okay? She's a giant Kardashian.
That's right.
That's what she is. Now, notice I'm saying she.
You're saying she. I would say
very politically correct.
Yeah, I'm not.
But the video where they circled her house and she was like moving in the shadows behind the drapes. Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was like the first time she was revealing herself as this woman. So they're circling her house, just this glorious house, and like looks like it's in Malibu or somewhere, where they're circling the house and it's in the hills with a helicopter, like filming. This is like fucking high production value shit.
Yeah.
This isn't just like, hey, we met with Caitlyn at home. Caitlyn, tell us your troubles. Like Kristen Beck, the former Navy SEAL, who just sits down very reasonably and says, this just feels better for me. This is who I am.
Right.
No. There was like Kurt.
In 1,000 feet, exit right to exit 82, State Route 124, Harwich, Brewster, hold exit 10. Then keep left. Exit right to exit 82, State Route 124, Harwich, Brewster, hold exit 10. Then keep left to State Route 124. Keep left. Then turn left on State Route 124. Turn left on State Route 124. In 1.4 miles. Turn left on State Route 39. Police reported ahead.
And shadows, and it was mysterious, and then she starts talking, like, well, you know, I've always been a man. You're like, whoa, God. And then there was the weirdest part where she said she got surgery, but it doesn't make me any. It wasn't like I was any less of a man or less of a woman before the surgery.
Right. Well, this is the case about gender, right?
Well, then why get the surgery? That was like.
Well, there are a lot of questions as to the logic of all of this. Like, you call Caitlyn Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner is a biological man.
How dare you?
Sorry
I'm triggered.
Sorry to break this to all the people who listen to your show. Caitlyn Jenner's. Like, I had a tweet this week.
All the people that listen probably agree with you.
Yeah,
at least a good amount do.
The number one retweeted tweet I've ever had 100, and I tweeted I think a day ago, and it has 120,000 likes. And there was a headline from CNN that said transgender man gives birth to transgender man assigned the female sex at birth. Gives birth to healthy baby boy. And so I tweeted, woman gives birth to boy.
Right.
Because it's a woman. I mean, this is like, that's not a headline. I'm sorry, just because the woman believes she's a man doesn't make her a man. Like, biology still exists. Sex still exists. If you want to say she's a woman who feels like a man, that's fine. If you want to say that, and by the way, I don't even care if she...
In 1,000 feet. Turn left on State Route 39. Then turn right.
Hormone treatments, or if she wants to have surgery, like, it's a free country, do what the hell you want. But when you start insisting that I just throw biology out the window, I don't understand why that's any better than I, as a religious person, saying...
Turn left on State Route 39. Then turn right on Bank Street.
You say something, you have to mention God.
Right.
Like, well, I don't have the right to do that to you. Like, well, that's idiotic.
Are you fascinated by it? Are you fascinated by the transgender,
I'm fascinated by
just
society's
as a
obsession
movement.
with it.
Yes, that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
There's not just an obsession. It's compulsory and it's rabid.
So I think that there's a couple of things that are going on. One is that it's very dark, but I think that there is an element of, like, this is different, and we get to revel in the weirdness of it. But we're going to pretend that it's all about the civil rights of it. Right? We're going to feel like special because we're on their side. Right?
Right.
We're not watching Caitlyn Jenner because it's a curiosity and because it's weird and entertaining. We're doing it because we're on Caitlyn Jenner's side.
But
And we
there've
feel
been
really good
trans
about
people
ourselves.
forever.
Yeah, right. I mean, Renee Richards was a trans person.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, but it's happened throughout history. I mean, there's what was I reading a couple of days ago about a Roman, like, there was something about reports of some trans soldier in the Roman army, more than 1,000 years ago. It's got to be, if it exists now and it's existed before it was popular.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a lot of people that turn trans now just because it's exciting. Oh, there it is, right there. A trans soldier in the ancient Roman army.
That wouldn't.
Of course.
It wouldn't be surprising.
I'm not shocked.
No,
I'm not shocked.
I mean, it's a condition. I mean,
Right.
the
There's something
DSM called
going
it
on.
gender identity disorder, and then they called it gender dysphoria.
Turn right on Bank Street.
Condition. I mean, like,
It
I'm not saying
was
conditions
gender
don't exist.
dysphoria, but that in a lot of people's mind is labeling it somehow a negative.
Well, I mean, it is highly linked to suicidality. Dysphoria.
In 1 mile. Turn right on Miles Street.
Lifetime suicide rate for people who have this particular gender disorder, that seems to me not to be like very positive.
Whether or not they transition, yeah.
Whether or not they transition, yeah. I mean,
this
and again, I
doesn't
don't care if you
diminish.
transition, do what you want to do, but
Right.
the idea that we as an entire society have to redefine what sex is, and we have to blind ourselves to what biology is, this is something I'm not willing to do. I think that it's actually damaging to kids, particularly.
I'm more than willing to call her a she, and change, but you can only change your name once.
I'm willing to call Caitlyn Jenner Caitlyn Jenner. I'm not willing
Okay.
to call Caitlyn Jenner a she.
Oh.
Because you can't change your sex. You can change your name.
Right.
You can change your name to whatever you want. I don't care. But you can't. Caitlyn Jenner is not a chicken. Caitlyn Jenner is not a woman. Caitlyn Jenner is a man, a biological man. And if a man lost his penis and you know in a tragic accident, it wouldn't make him a woman. And if he were born with high doses of estrogen in his bloodstream, he would also not be a woman.
Right.
You're determined by your chromosomes. And this is not even talking about intersex people. Like, intersex is an actual status. Intersex is a biological status. But this nonsense that if you, Joe Rogan, decide tomorrow that you are a woman, no surgeries, no hormone, nothing. You just tomorrow, you wake up and not decide, but you feel like a woman. Then you have always been a woman. We must treat you as a woman.
Yeah.
You don't have to change anything about yourself for us to even determine whether you're a woman. We just, like,
In 1,000 feet. Turn right.
no. I'm sorry, no. I mean, like, I had mental illness. I had a grandfather. I get so much shit for this. But this is not me being unsympathetic to people who suffer from a condition that is really tragic and obviously harms people. You know, in terms of, the rates of suicide and depression are astounding. My grandfather was
Turn right on Miles Street. You've arrived. Destination is on your left.
Feel alright.